Welcome back, drawing buddies. This week's quick draw is gonna be Spaceman Spiff of Calvin and Hobbes. We're gonna pencil, ink, and color him. So if that sounds like a good way to spend 13 minutes, let's draw. So Calvin and Hobbes, a comic strip that ran in the newspapers from 1985 to 1995. And it was pretty much the most popular comic strip at the time, and you could argue probably ever. It's probably more popular than Peanuts and more popular than Garfield and all those. But Bill Watterson, he just wanted to draw comics and he wanted it to be its own thing. He didn't want to get it watered down. He didn't want to get it ruined by anything else. So he never licensed Calvin and Hobbes for movies. He never made toys. So every time you see a Calvin and Hobbes plushie or a sticker or those window stickers like Calvin urinating on something like Boston Red Sox or anything, it's all unofficial. None of that is official Calvin and Hobbes merch. The only things he officially ever licensed are the books. So the books are the only official licensed things. You can't buy a t-shirt. There's no comic books, all that other fun stuff. And Calvin and Hobbes actually got me started drawing all these weird comic things, as an adult anyway, to get back into it years ago, because remember, they're still out there, those t-shirt sites like T-Fury and T-Public and what's the other one? Ripped Apparel. I was sitting at work one day and I sketched out Calvin, and he was with a TARDIS, a Doctor Who. And I'm like, that's kind of cool, and I forgot about it. And then these t-shirt sites started popping up, and I had a sticker of it that I made at work and I put on my desk. So I was like, maybe I'll submit this to one of those sites. And, I did. Nothing happened. And then I was screwing around and I sketched Spaceman Spiff versus Invader Zim. I'm like, this one's really cool. So I scanned it in and I colored it up nice. I didn't have a tablet back then, so I literally spot colored it. And then all the shadows and the highlights I put in with a mouse by clicking the lasso tool in Photoshop around it and filling it in. It took forever. It was a nightmare, but that's how I colored things back then before the whole tablet revolution. So I got a lot of discipline from doing it that way. And I submitted that one, I think, to Ripped Apparel, and they approved it. I think it got published around Christmas time, whatever year I did it. It's probably more than 10 years ago at this point. And I'm like, that was fun. And so I started drawing more things like that. And a lot of them are Calvin. I did Stupendous Man with Batman, and Spaceman Spiff with Groot and Rocket Raccoon, and Spaceman Spiff with Stitch. I did a Tracer Bullet one. Tracer Bullet is his hard-boiled detective, noir detective comic strip. And that's another Calvin. I did that one Sin City style. That's one of my favorite ones that I ever did. And yeah, so I started submitting those sites, and they got picked up, and they got printed, and then the site thing slowed down. And then I had all these drawings, and someone said, you should do one of those Comic-Cons. Oh, the pencils are done. It's time to ink Spaceman Spiff. Yeah, see? They're going quick. So I made some prints. I got a table at, I think, Hartford Comic-Con? I think it might even been the first Hartford Comic-Con. And I did really well. I'm like, this is fun. So that got me motivated to draw more things and do more mashups and get more tables at cons, and all that led to us being here right now. And I'm glad it all happened, because these videos are all kinds of fun. But yeah, the inking goes super quick on Spaceman Spiff here. I think the coloring is the longest part, but even that's pretty fast. So Bill Watterson is an interesting guy. He didn't want to really profit off of Calvin and Hobbes, like I said earlier. And when he quit drawing, he just went to the desert to do paintings and stuff. And then I was at work one day, and I saw an article about some guy did a comic strip. I forgot what it was called. And in the comic strip, he picks up a girl at a bar, and she asks him what he does for a living. This is a newspaper strip. And he says, I draw comic strips. She goes, oh, are you the Calvin and Hobbes guy? And he goes, yes, I am. Basically lying to the woman. And he ends up, hanging out with her for the night, we'll say. And I guess Bill Watterson read that and thought it was hilarious. So so a couple months later, just randomly, this guy's strip, there's an alien invasion, and the art got really good. And it turns out for 3 days, 3 daily strips, or 3 Sunday strips. Bill Watterson took over this guy's strip and did his own thing, and I remember cutting him out of the newspapers because I worked with newspapers at the time, and I think they got lost in the move, but I always thought that was a pretty cool thing for him to do. And he also did like correspondence with friends of his, and he's always draw little cartoons on the bottom. So I really wish I was a friend of Bill Watterson's. Bill Watterson, he had so much power in the comic strip industry because Calvin and Hobbes was so popular that he got to dictate the terms of how his strips were printed. Before that, well, still then, because he didn't really use that ability to really help the business. He just did his thing, and that was it. He wasn't an advocate. He didn't fight for better conditions. He just did his thing, and that was it. He wasn't really worried about the industry as a whole. He was just worried about what he wanted to do. Because he got to the point where, like Sunday strips, and they would get cut up and pieced and mashed together. And he's like, no, if you want to carry Calvin and Hobbes strips, you're going to print them the way that I submit them. And he also got to the point where the Sunday strips, he got half a page, and you weren't to cut it up, shrink it, and move it. And they gave him that power because Calvin and Hobbes sold newspapers. People would buy newspapers just to read Calvin and Hobbes. They didn't care about the news. They didn't care about Garfield or Family Circus. They wanted Calvin and Hobbes, and that's why they were buying the newspapers. And he could have taken that and advocated for better rights for cartoonists and better things like that for comic strip artists, but he didn't. He just did his thing, and he did it well, so I can't be mad at him for that, because I'm not sure I would have really been all that much of an advocate either. I'm kind of a do-my-own-thing kind of person, too. Although I do help out people when I can, so I don't know. And when my little bugger was born, her mother had like a little party get-together, family and stuff, and she's like, don't bring any gifts, just bring a book. And so the books that I bought for when she's old enough to read and stuff was Calvin and Hobbes books. I bought like 3 or 4 of the volumes. And when she's older and is into it, I think I'm going to get it for myself, and I'll just give it to her eventually. They got these 3 giant binded books, and it's every Calvin and Hobbes ever printed from start to finish. And I always talk myself out of buying it. I even saw it at a comic shop once, and it was the hardcover one. He only wanted like $20 for it. And of course, my dumb butt did not buy it. I did read some Spaceman Spiff comic strips before doing this video, because I haven't really checked them out in a long time. And one thing I noticed is Spaceman Spiff's kind of like a proxy for what's going on around him. Like his mother wants to give him a bath, so in his mind, his imagination, his mother's a space alien who captures him and throws him in boiling water. Oh, the inks are done. Now it's time to color Spaceman Spiff. See what I mean about these going fast? But I think the coloring takes twice as long as everything else on this one. So yeah, he'll imagine his mother as a space slug, throwing him in the water, making him take a bath. Or he'll be sitting in school and he'll be daydreaming about something that's going on. But it'll sort of relate to the lesson. Like one of them, he's captured and it's an absolute disaster for Spaceman Spiff. But that's what the teacher was asking, how they spell disaster. So he ended up spelling it right. It doesn't always work out that way, but sometimes he gets lucky. And there's also one with Susie where she's talking to him. You better do work for this project we're assigned, because I'm not telling the teacher that you help me if you don't help me. And the whole time he's just hearing blah, 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 blah. And Susie's a space monster yelling at him as Spaceman Spiff. Also, when I draw the Calvin and Hobbes things, I never draw Hobbes in his tiger form, because I feel like I don't deserve to. I haven't earned that right. So Calvin will always be the stuffed animal. The only time I came close to drawing him as the tiger is I did a Edward Scissorhands one, which is another awesome one that I kind of like a lot. And Edward Scissorhand carved a bush, and the bush looks like Hobbes. And it's the adult version of Hobbes because I needed it to be taller. And I figured it wasn't actually Hobbes, it's a bush. So it doesn't count. Like I drew Calvin as Batman, and I drew him as the Joker once, and in the background there's like cardboard boxes as cities, and there's like in the Batman one there's a little Hobbes as Robin sitting in the background, and in the Joker one he's sitting on one of the cardboard box buildings as Batman. So I always find a fun way to stick Hobbes in the drawings, even if he's only in his stuffed animal form. I did notice on Amazon that somebody is selling stuffed Hobbeses, And I kind of want to get one for the bugger, but I also am not sure where it's made and what it's made out of, because Amazon could be dicey, and I don't want to buy her a stuffed animal that's stuffed with formaldehyde, because that's not good for kids. So I don't know. So I probably won't order it, but I got her the books, and that's the important part. And here we're doing the moon thing where I do the dots and bring it all out. That's my favorite way to draw a moon. And it kind of works with comic strips. I might think of a comic strip and just do a few random comic strips of something. Probably won't be kid, it'll probably be more, I don't know. But I have some paper I found going through some boxes looking for something, and it's a pad of pre-made cut comic strip paper. As a Gen Xer, we had very little parental supervision, and our parents were very lax on what we were allowed to do as children. So when I was a teenager, young teenager, like 14 years old, my parents would actually let me go on a train to New York City with my friends. They'd give us like 20, 30 bucks and say, go, have a good time. And New York City wasn't as nice back then, but we won't talk about that because some of it's not safe for YouTube. But we went down there once, and I ended up in a gallery we just happened to walk by, and it was all comic strip art. And they had one Bill Watterson, because he doesn't really sell or give these things away. And it was for sale for like $1,200. And I was like, oh man, might as well be $1 million, but that would be the coolest thing ever if I could buy that thing. And I just happened to notice while I was looking up the Spaceman Spiff comic strips that the first Spaceman Spiff comic strip sold for $480,000. I'm sure the one that I could have bought wasn't that cool, and it was only a black and white, but man, that would have been a cool thing to have and hanging on my wall for a while. I'm sure I would have sold it years ago to buy a car or put a down payment on a condo or something silly, you know, that us adults have to do in life. But it would have been cool to have a Calvin and Hobbes for a little while. Also, I missed it. There was an exhibit. It was like 3 hours away from here, and it was all Calvin and Hobbes art. It was somewhere in upstate New York. I really wanted to go, but it would have been like a weekend trip, and the universe conspired against me, and I didn't make it. So hopefully there will be another one sometime soon that I could actually make it to. I did see that Bill Sienkiewicz, he did Daredevil, and he's a really famous comic artist. He's having an exhibit down in New York City at a gallery where I saw a Mike Mignola exhibit. So I might find an excuse to go down there. Hopefully it'll be warmer out when the actual exhibit hits, because it is cold and snowy right now. I think we got 15 inches of snow last night. So instead of shoveling, I am in here talking to you guys about Spaceman Spiff. We're putting the signature down, so it looks like we are done with Spaceman Spiff. So we'll do more Calvin and talk about him again, but thanks for stopping by. Like, subscribe, and all that other fun stuff. And go out and draw something. Have a good week.